Hi, Brother Long. I appreciate the questions that you asked, and I am excited. I never know how much people want to know or what they want to hear or what kind of questions they have. So I appreciate that you were able to ask a couple of specific things that you wanted to know. So in the area that I'm in, so I'm in one of the larger metropolitan areas. I live in, it said here in the States, Guadalajara. There is a population of nearly 6 million people there after the most recent census. That was the number that was determined. So it's a very large metropolitan area. It's the second largest city in the country of Mexico outside of the city of Mexico City. We live in one of what is considered, it's called a federally policed or federally ordered state. So we live in the state of Jalisco. It's spelled Jalisco. We live about 2 hours east of the port city, Puerto Vallarta. And so because we live in what is considered a federally policed state, we live in a fairly safe state. We do see constant military and police presence. That's normal. That doesn't mean that anything is wrong per se. As with any major metropolitan area, there is a certain amount of crime. We do know that there are things that go on around us in the environment that we live in. However, we don't see much. When I lived in the city of when I was born and raised in the city of St. Louis, and I worked downtown at a hotel for a short period of time. And when I would interact with people, they would ask me where to go or where not to go, and I would always say, just use your best interest. Don't go wandering down any dark alleys. Don't go into really seedy bars at night. Things of this nature. So we never have a reason to find ourselves in any seedy bars. And we never go down any dark alleys, and honestly that keeps us away from all harm. We do feel like God has offered us a level of protection that we could never offer ourselves, and even that mankind could not do without his anointing. So we do know that we operate under his banner, and so for that part of it, we do make wise decisions. We do the best that we can with what we have in front of us, but we also know that we operate under God's covering. So for that part of it, I've driven several times from my house down in Guadalajara all the way up to the border or even past the border. This summer I've been in St. Louis for classes, and I did drive my car, licensed in Mexico, all the way from my house in Mexico. Once we get to the border, it is a little bit different. We did have kind of a little bit of, I guess, a taste of what they have at the border. It is a very much different environment, simply because just there are different groups who are there that are not so kind, not so legal. They operate in just different ways. A lot of what they do is not legal, not so much they are illegal. So we do our best, as long as God does not call us there, we do our best to stay away from the border areas. If we're traveling with our kids, we're always very mindful about that. We always let people from our consulate and also the border know when we are traveling in those areas. So there are different things we can do to be mindful. As far as the religion, this is one part that when you asked me about this, I lit up, because this is actually part of my thesis for my master's. I was immediately introduced to what a strong Catholic influence is there in the whole country, but specifically the city of Guadalajara. Honestly, prior to Catholicism being introduced to the country, there was widely simply either magic or witchcraft or different kinds of Indian, Toltec, Aztec, that sort of thing, Native American traditions, faiths, beliefs, if you will. So we have seen people who ask questions, are you Catholic or are you Christian? And so if they're asking if you're Christian, they're asking if you're anything other than Catholic. And so almost every person that we have in our church, in any of our churches in the area, in the city or across the country, almost a good 95% of them or so are Catholic converts. So we are working through kind of looking at discipleship and what sort of beliefs or faith-based practices these individuals coming from the Catholic faith come in with that are hardest for them to reconcile in the Pentecostal belief and the Apostolic Pentecostal belief. So we do see a lot of them that come in and they're ready to do just sort of an ordered process service. And so I can say that one thing that has helped to teach these individuals the most is just the presence of God. They very quickly learn the difference between sitting in a Catholic mass or service and sitting in an apostolic Pentecostal service. And we don't really, in Mexico, we don't sit much. I tell people all the time that our services are between 4 and 6 hours about every Sunday, and that typically that's all at one time. So we do see a lot of we have found the need, and I say we, the missionary brother and sister Drost, who are the UPCI appointed missionaries to the country of Mexico, do recognize that there is the need for discipleship, for ongoing training and equipping, so that these individuals can begin to understand why we do things the way that we do and why we believe things the way that we do. Because coming from the Catholic faith, it is very different. Their practices, their beliefs, their doctrines, even just the way that they even have service is very, very different. So I do work with them. I'm honored to be a part of kind of looking at how we can better disciple those who are coming in as first generation converts, so while strengthening and encouraging those who are coming straight from either no belief or another belief. So I appreciate your questions, and I look forward to working with you this semester.